Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Have a motion to approve the agenda, or are there any changes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll run through the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the September 9th, 2020 regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to approve the special meeting minutes from September 29th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session from September 29th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't have any president's remarks this morning, except that we have some guests this morning. Bobby Samples, the general manager from Ocean Downs, and she will be speaking shortly about the proposed change at the casino property to have the county approve a casino entertainment district. But before that, Mila, you have some announcements regarding the email votes?
We did take one email vote that was approved by all members of the board and did vote for a motion online, and I'm drawing a blank on what that was.
Want me to fill you in?
Please. Thanks, Clarke.
Okay, there was a motion to conduct an electronic vote to authorize a new staff position on 9/10/20. We had unanimous agreement to do so, and the motion was to approve office manager in accordance with bylaws, sections 514D and 901B. Approval of this position approved the function and operations of the Public Works CPI office, and that motion passed unanimously. There was a second email vote to conduct an electronic vote to approve the submission of the application for the RAE grant, which is a grant having to do with drainage. And we had unanimous agreement to conduct that vote. And the motion was to submit the application for the RAE grant, which stands for Restore Americans Estuaries. That's a federal grant, right? And commit to the matching funds requirement of $254,000. So it could be up to $254 of matching funds. What the matching funds actually are will depend upon the amount of the grant. So the application will serve to request consideration for funding from this program to protect and restore local watersheds in our area. And the purpose is to seek available funds from federal, state, and other agencies or organizations to address both watershed and drainage issue. The grant money will be used in addition to the DNR grant that we already received to supplement the overall Bain Bridge project. The RAE grant requires that the awardee commit to match 33% of the funding, which in the case of Ocean Pines is $254,000. This matching fund requirement can be originated from either DNR or OPA sources. And that motion passed unanimously on 10/7/2020. And that's the extent of
Thank
the
you very
email.
much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on the agenda is Bobby Sample, the general manager from Ocean Downs Casino.
They expected me to be a bit taller. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here today. Obviously, I've heard a lot of concerns, and I've been spending the last several weeks. Thank you. And I've been spending the last several weeks having lots of conversations with lots of people in the area about what we have proposed and what that may mean for the area. Let me see. There we go. So I want to start with a bit of an historical look. So the casino is coming up on its 10th anniversary. January 4th will be 10 years since we opened. In that time frame, this is every fiscal year ending, the tax money that has come into Worcester County, Ocean City, Ocean Pines, Berlin, and the total of that. Each of these areas gets a piece of our revenue through our taxes that comes directly to this county. Just to highlight some of the percentage increases and explain why those might have been. Obviously, we only operated half of fiscal year 2011, so fiscal year 2012 was the first full year of operation. That's why you see such an enormous increase in that year. In 2013 and 14, we were able to increase our business year over year. In 2015, some of that increase is a result of our business volume increasing and our revenue increasing. But the bigger driver there is that part of the original law allowed for, from fiscal year 2012 through August of 2014, there was an 18% distribution to Baltimore and Prince George's County, actually from our money, that ended as of August 2014. So that obviously had an enormous impact on what we were getting once that distribution wasn't being made. Everybody, of course, made their deals when the legislation was originally passed. Again, in 2016, 2017, you see some significant increases. Those are a result of our increasing business. In fiscal year 2018, you have the impact of table games having opened in December of 2017. That affects only the county portion. That's a lower tax rate because it's a lot more expensive to put on. So the county is the one that reaps the benefit from that. And in 2019, which is our last normal year, another 14.8% increase. Obviously, fiscal year 2020 is impacted by the fact that we were closed for 95 days during the course of that year. So that's a expected decrease that you would see the first time that we've ever had a decrease since we opened. So in total, more than $29 million has come into this county directly from the taxes from the casino. And let me talk a little bit about what those funds have been spent on. There is a local development council that meets twice a year, discusses how these funds are used, ensures that they're being used and being used properly. There are certain things that they are allowed to be used for, largely infrastructure, public safety, and those types of things that are directly impacted by the fact that the casino exists here. So Berlin used theirs to build their new department building, to buy the land and to build the building. Ocean Pines uses it largely for road paving and culvert replacements, drainage, piping. As I heard the motion that you made, clearly that's an issue here in Ocean Pines. So that's what that money is being spent on here. Ocean City uses it largely for road paving. Worcester County uses the lion's share of theirs to pay off the debt service on the Worcester County Technical High School. That mortgage is about $2.2 million a year. So if I go back, you can see at the beginning of the county portion, it was covering a little over half of it. But over time, it has come to not only cover that full mortgage, but also allow for other spending on top of that. So this past year, they were able to do some radio upgrades and equipment upgrades, and they bought 7 new vehicles for their public safety departments. So Ocean Pines, you benefit kind of, it's a double benefit because you're benefiting by the fact that Worcester County is utilizing these funds for infrastructure that tax dollars do not need to be used for. You're also benefiting from the fact that Ocean Pines is using these funds for things that your homeowners association dues do not need to be used for. So you are getting the benefit of the casino funds to both of those entities. And when you have, just to talk a little bit about the tax rate and how those tax dollars are utilized and why, our success is important to you. So our tax rate currently is 47% of our revenue, not profit, revenue off the top before we pay a single bill. When you look at Las Vegas and Atlantic City, their tax rates are similar to a sales tax. It's a cost of doing business. They pay their fair share, and their states collect that from all of the businesses. As gaming increased and different states started to allow it, generally speaking, they did it for a purpose. So Delaware did it to save horse racing. Pennsylvania did it to decrease property taxes. And Maryland did it to fund education. And they also incorporated these local impact grants to help the local communities that were, housing these casinos. When you have such a large tax rate like that, and the dollars are coming directly back to the community, there's a vested interest. It's a partnership. You should want us to do well, because when we do well, then these tax dollars come into your community and help you spend less of your tax dollars. So it's really more of a partnership. And most states that have elected to add gambling outside of Nevada and New Jersey have had high tax rates like this for that very purpose. So we also provide employment. So the casino and the racetrack, pre-COVID, we had 365 team members. 331 of those are full-time. We are not we do not typically, outside of the physical live racing staff and the ancillary restaurants and things that are only open during live racing, we don't have seasonal staffing. We have year-round staffing, either full-time or part-time. So we have 331 full-time team members, 34 part-time. Now, we are not fully open yet. We still have a 50% of our fire marshal capacity. So we have to keep track of that. And we also cannot have all of our games and all of our table game positions open due to social distancing. So we're not at full bore yet. We have not reopened our restaurant, Poseidon's Pub, which we will, but we have not yet. And we have shortened our operating hours. Normally in the summer, we are 24 hours a day. And we've been closing at 2 a.m. and reopening at 8 a.m. 7 days a week, primarily to allow more time to make sure we have plenty of time to clean, wipe down everything that gets touched overnight. And obviously if we haven't changed those hours yet, we're not going to change them probably until the spring or next summer. So for that reason, we don't have all of our team members back to work yet, but our goal is to get them all back to work. So we currently have 255 full-time and 28 part-time employees. When we started doing our callbacks, we had 35 employees who elected not to come back for various reasons. Some of them had high-risk people that they live with. Some of them were high-risk themselves. Some of them had found other jobs, while they were waiting for us to reopen. So additional amenities on our property will only help these numbers get better. Obviously, whatever we put on our property, we're going to need to have staff to take care of and to run. And in addition to that, because everything that we will do at the property is going to be geared towards increasing our core businesses, casino and racetrack. So as we add these amenities and increase the volume there, we're going to increase our staffing in the casino as well. So these will all have a positive effect on our employment long term. I know that there was a lot of trepidation about the casino coming on board 12 years ago when that was being talked about. There are a lot of concerns that the town would go downhill, that we would bring in a negative element, that we would steal a lot of business from other local businesses. And in fact, that has not happened. We have been a very good community partner over the last 10 years since we opened. We have been recognized by Worcester County Health Department a number of times for not serving anyone who's underage. And quite frankly, if we're serving someone who's underage, I have bigger problems than the fact that they got a drink. Our COVID-19 health and safety plan that we put together to reopen the casino has been a number of times touted by the health department as the most comprehensive and detailed plan that they received. And that plan has been very successful so far. We have had 3 cases of employees, 2 of them not customer facing at all, one of them only partially customer facing. We have conducted contact tracing in all 3 of those cases, and found no other incidences in the building. So they contracted it outside of the building. And we've been contacted by the health department 2 times to do contact tracing on customers that had been in our building. So I'm a big proponent that masks and social distancing works. So our health and safety plan has been working to keep our employees and our customers safe. We have been supportive of, this is just a small number of the local organizations that we've been supportive of over that time. Atlantic General Hospital, we partner with DELINQUENT regularly for food drives, some yielding food, some yielding cash. They were the beneficiary of half of our table games control demonstration. So we partner with them routinely a number of times every year. We support all the town of Berlin events. We typically provide our shuttle to shuttle customers or people back and forth from the town to the parking area. Women Supporting Women has been, the last several years, the beneficiary of some Breast Cancer Awareness Month events that we've done. We've supported the United Way, the Worcester County Humane Society. We've partnered with American Legion Post 166 from the very beginning. They've been the beneficiary of our original control demonstration when we opened the casino, as well as when we opened table games. And we have, for the last 10 years, sponsored the Pocomoke Fair with purse money that we substantially increased the last 5 years as opposed to the first 5 years. That totals $28,000, I think, over the course of the last 10 years. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that racing is important to us. We are a casino, but we are also still a racetrack. We're owned by Churchill Downs, so racing is obviously something that's important to us. So there's been a lot of questions about why an overlay district, a lot of confusion about why we would go that route. So this overlay sits on top of our A2 zoning. So in specific cases, there are specific uses, 12 of them, 3 of which that already exist in the casino, the racetrack, and the stables, that would be allowed on the property. If we were commercially zoned, it would be significantly more than that. But we're really just trying to clean up the fact that all of our uses outside of the racetrack, which includes the casino, have all been by special exception. So we're really just trying to get something on the books that really addresses our situation, as opposed to all of these kind of side deal special exceptions, and just make it very clear and transparent for everybody what is allowed to be on that property. And then we can take that, knowing the playing field completely and having it publicly, available, and do our long-term plan on how we're going to continue to grow our business. And the end result of that is that everything still needs to be approved by planning and zoning. This does not give us carte blanche to do whatever we want on the property within those 12 uses. It's actually a two-part approval process each time we want to employ one of those uses, which is far more than would happen if it was being rezoned as commercial. So this is a map of the area, and I'm probably not telling you anything that you don't know since you live in Ocean Pines, that there's a substantial amount of commercial property, particularly on our end of 589. So we are now surrounded by commercial zoning. And we are kind of primarily why that end has changed to be more commercial. Most recently, the land across the street from us has been zoned commercial last January. So going with the overlay versus the commercial zoning, if it was commercial zoning, there'd be more than 40 uses, half of which wouldn't require very much approval to move forward on. Our overlay is more limited in scope. As I mentioned, it uses a 2-step process. It was recommended by the staff at the Worcester County Development Review and Permitting Department. So this was their suggestion as to how to best address this so that it was limited and people would be more comfortable with the fact that we wouldn't have more uses that we could employ on that property. And quite frankly, they themselves wanted to keep it limited in scope as well. And this was unanimously approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So they looked at it and understood what we were trying to do with it and felt that that was the best avenue to move forward because it did limit us and it did require a lot of hoops basically for us to jump through to employ those uses. There was a concern that was raised at the work session that the county commissioners had in September that this could potentially be used on other A2 zone property in the county. And that is, while it is perhaps theoretically possible, realistically, that is not going to happen because in order to employ this overlay, you have to have a state licensed casino. And there will not be another state licensed casino in Worcester County. For one, any expansion of gaming has to be approved by statewide referendum, which is what happened when they approved the 6th license site at Prince George's. By the way, vote yes on 2 on the sports betting, just getting that little plug in there. We would obviously vehemently oppose any other casino coming into this county. And we would be supported in all likelihood by all the other casinos in the state because none of us wants to see gaming expand any further. We have definitely, cover the market from the Western Shore with Rocky Gap all the way here to the Eastern Shore. And there is a glut of it in the center of the state. And they have definitely seen their challenges since that MGM property opened with revenues at the other casinos having decreased in that time frame. And quite frankly, it is unlikely that any casino company would want to build a casino here in Worcester County. We are not a fly-in destination like Vegas is. We are a drive-in destination. And there is only so much population within a reasonable drive to bring to this area. So it is somewhat limited in its scope because of the population. And there are already 3 established casinos here on the peninsula. Harrington and Dover Downs have been open for well over 20 years, and we've now been here 10. So no casino company is going to look at this area and think it's a great idea to build another casino here. So this would really be the only use in the county of this overlay zone. So the piece that I'm sure you're all most interested in, I know that traffic is always the concern for Ocean Pines, and we absolutely understand that. That is the only way out from Ocean Pines in the event of an emergency. So we are very cognizant of that concern. The overlay, as opposed to commercial zoning, requires at every step a traffic study anytime we employ a use. So if we were to build a parking garage, we do a traffic study. If we were to build an amphitheater, it would require another parking study. If we were to build a hotel, it would require another parking study each step of the way. And we have committed to you and to your board to make sure that any time that traffic study is required, we will study the entirety of 589, even if the county doesn't mandate that we do that. Because obviously our end is not the only concern for 589. We've also committed so that there is no perception that we have hired someone to do the traffic study that's going to find what we want. We have committed. Now, we are a publicly owned company. We routinely always get 3 bids. That's just our normal way of doing things. So we will go through our bid process and we will select someone from that bid process and we will present them to the county commissioners for their approval. So the county commissioners are comfortable with the fact that we've chosen someone who's going to come with honest answers. Yes, ma'am.
If the traffic study finds that there are upgrades to 589 required, who's responsible for paying for those upgrades?
If the traffic study finds that the casino is going to generate traffic that's going to require some sort of work on 589, we would have to pay for that, would have to become part of our project in order for us to move forward. That's what happened when the casino was built. That traffic light and I think we did an initial road widening, not the current one, but initial road widening there to include, I think, 2 lanes or a turn lane coming from this direction towards the casino. The casino paid for all of that. So that becomes a cost of doing business for us. If we want to expand, that's the cost of doing it. You're welcome. And quite honestly, it is in our best interest that people aren't sitting in traffic on 589 to get to our casino. For one, the length of time they're there, they're not in our building, and that's where they want to be. And if they are sitting in traffic before they get there, we're hospitality. So we're already starting out behind the 8 ball because now they're already upset because they've been sitting in traffic. So we want to make sure people can easily get to and from our property just as much, as you want to make sure that you can easily get in and out of your neighborhood. So we all want the same thing when it comes to the traffic. So large events. There were also some concerns raised at the commissioners' meeting about what could happen if we were allowed to have a concert. In fact, we've already had a concert. Some of you might have come when we had Travis Tritt here last year. There's actually requirements of working with state highway and the state police whenever you have an event of that size. So we did that. We filed all the forms, had all the meetings. We put a lot of plans in place, worked with the state troopers as well as the Worcester County sheriffs to make sure that the traffic got into and out of our property very easily. And it was very successful. Some of you might have come to the ostrich and camel races that we've had that were enormously successful, far more successful than we thought they might be when we had them the first year. Again, in fact, I think in that case, we worked with your fire department volunteers and we made a donation to have them come over and help us in the parking lot, in addition to having the help out at the road. And by the way, whenever we use the state police or the Worcester County sheriffs for anything in our property, we pay for that. So that is not a taxpayer expense, that's our expense. We've had, some of you may have been to our property for Kentucky Derby. It's very busy when we have the Derby. And live racing special events like the Clydesdales and other things that bring in a lot of people to our property. Our indoor fire marshal capacity is 2,400 people. And I can assure you, in the summer when we've had live racing outside and the casino inside, we've had more than that number of people on our property. And in actuality, when you have a large event at a casino property, it thins out the traffic going in. Everybody's not coming in at the same time or leaving at the same time because many of those people are either coming early to go to the casino or they're staying and playing in the casino when the event's done. So you don't have that rush like you do out of the Meriwether Post Pavilion or another concert venue like that.
Obviously, you weren't on 589. Backed up all the way to the lake ponds in North.
The first year, yes, the first year was a very unexpected crowd. We did not expect that it would bring in that many people. We were far more prepared the second year that we had that, and that was much better. We've also heard a concern that, somehow this is going to bring Las Vegas to Worcester County. And that is absolutely not going to be the case. Even with growth and additional amenities that are included in the overlay zone, we can't support a Las Vegas style property year round here. We just can't. Again, we're a drive-in destination and there's just not enough population to bring here for something like that. In addition to that, our tax structure limits our growth in slot machines. So when we originally opened, I mentioned earlier, our tax rate is currently 47%. When we originally opened, our tax rate was 67%. So we only got to keep a third of that money to actually run the business. One of those tax breaks that we got was when the 6th license was awarded to MGM. When the 6th license was awarded, they reworked everyone's tax rate because everyone had based their business plan on 5 properties, and now there would be 6. Obviously, Maryland Live and Horseshoe got a larger consideration than we did because they were more directly impacted. But Rocky Gap and Ocean Downs both also got tax breaks in that round, and our tax breaks were tied to the fact that we would not exceed. We would have less than 1,000 machines on our property. As long as we stay under 1,000 machines, we get that 10% tax break. And there is not enough business to bring in to cover that on all of our slot revenue, plus whatever costs we would have to build whatever the amenity is So we will stay below 1,000 games, which limits obviously our capacity and our ability. There's not a casino in Vegas that's as small as this one is. So we are really precluded from getting that large. And just to make sure everyone understands, the property will also have a consistent and seamless look. I think, I'm a little biased, I think it looks very nice. I think it looks very nice as part of the neighborhood and part of the area. And if you have any concerns about how it might look or things might not look like they go together, I encourage you to Google Churchill Downs. They've built that racetrack over time. And when you look at everything that they've built, it all seamlessly goes together like it was meant to be from the very beginning. So that is how we would also expand upon our property. So the scope of our future growth. As I mentioned earlier, casino and racing are our core businesses. We're not trying to get into these other businesses to make money in them. We are trying to get into these other, add these other amenities to enhance the businesses we already have and to increase and grow that revenue. Under no circumstances are we going to include anything here that is going to be geared towards children. Those 48 days of live racing are about as much as I can stomach to deal with the concern that someone underage is going to get on our casino floor. That comes with sanctions and fines from the Maryland Lottery. And, we are very, very careful and spend a lot of time with security and surveillance, ensuring that that doesn't happen during live racing. We're not going to increase that exposure. In addition, we are not going to add an amenity that could encourage people to leave their children there and go into the casino. That's an enormous liability for us if that were to happen. And it is not in the vein of the responsible gaming philosophy that both Maryland as a whole, they do very well on responsible gaming in this state, and our property have to make sure that something like that doesn't happen. And just a note as to why we want to make sure that we are shoring up our business. There will be additional competition at some point. Virginia has talked about adding casinos for many years, and it always gets voted down. It did not get voted down this past year, and there's a referendum on the ballot in both Norfolk and Portsmouth, which are not very far away from us, and we get a good number of customers from that area, to allow commercial casinos in their area. So there is going to be more competition, and we do need to be able to either retain those customers, or if we can't retain those customers, replace them with new ones, so that our revenue stream and your tax stream both, at least remain where they are, if not continuing to increase. The other seemingly bone of contention in this bill is the possibility of a hotel. Current state law mandates that we cannot own a hotel on or within 10 miles of our property. But if this zoning overlay were approved, we could partner with a third party and lease or sell them a portion of our land to build that hotel and run that hotel. We just can't have a financial interest in it. A hotel is an invaluable tool to build a casino business. And I think part of the concern is that we would throw all these discounted and comped rooms out there that would take business away from other area hotels. And that's not the case. People that stay in other area hotels are coming to our property periodically during their visit, and we need to maintain those. What we would do is use our database of people that we know like to gamble, like to come to our property, have the wallet to gamble. We don't necessarily get everyone's gaming wallet or 100% of everyone's gaming wallet. They go to Harrington, or they might go to Dover, or they might travel and they might go to, Florida casinos or casinos in other states. We would like to try and get them here more frequently so that we're getting a larger share of their gaming dollar, and, benefiting the area with their tax income. This is all based on rated play. So if you're playing with your card, we can rate your play. We know what you're spending, and you would get an offer based on that spending. In the summer, the people that come in for the summer are not necessarily utilizing their card a lot. They don't see the value if they're only here for a week and they're coming over 2 times, unless we have a promotion going that, is based on having your card in the game. So, we're not going to get necessarily a ton of those people unless they start realizing that it might be beneficial for them to use their card more frequently. But we need those vacationers to stay in the area hotels. We need them to come and make their visits to us, and we need to build upon that and add to it. So, these guests would also visit local businesses. We can only build what we can sustain year round. And as you know, it's very seasonal here. So we can't have 4 and 5 restaurants like MGM does. We can't sustain that. So people are going to go out in the community and visit local restaurants and go down to the, boardwalk one night, or, go and visit other area businesses while they would be here. So again, these are designed to be added trips to the area to what's already here, not taking them from one spot and putting them in another. So just in conclusion, we've been a very good community partner for 10 years. None of the fears that were there before the casino opened have come to fruition. We haven't taken business away from the rest of the area. In fact, I think we've helped build the shoulder season in particular as another amenity that people can come and have when they're here. We've increased the local impact grants over time. The last year was about $4.5 million, the last full year of what came into this county. We would like to grow that. If we continue to grow that on the growth rate that we had before the world ended and COVID happened, then in 5 years, that could be up to $7 million coming into this county with those continued growth rates. We'll employ more people, largely year-round. The growth is going to help other area businesses grow as well. And, in general, this overlay district is a net positive. We will only be allowed to grow slowly through the process, and everything will be looked at and scrutinized for every step of the way. So, the county is going to be looking at this routinely anytime we want to employ one of these uses. So, again, I just want to make sure everyone understands it is not carte blanche to build and build and build. And that's not our intention. We'll spend the money to build it if it's going to support our existing businesses. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
If you go ahead and sell the land for someone to build a hotel on, or lease it to them for that matter, do they have to go through the same restrictive policies and the same traffic studies and all of that in order to build the hotel?
Yes, because it would be in the overlay zone.
Okay, all right. And do you have other things that you're planning on putting on the property after you get the overlay zone besides a hotel? Are there other amenities that you're going to build there as well? Is there any other ideas?
We're working on our long-term plan, which is kind of what created this process, so that we can know the playing field, know what we're allowed to have, what we're not allowed to have, and then we can come up with a comprehensive plan. Some of the amenities that some of the other Churchill properties have, they are building an amphitheater in Oak Grove, Kentucky, at a facility that they've just opened. They do have hotels at a number of their facilities, and meeting spaces at a number of their facilities. So nothing like Las Vegas, but just things that will bring people to the property, keep them occupied for a short period of time, with the hope that they'll come to the casino floor when they're all done.
But an amphitheater similar to a Bayside or something is going to bring a ton of traffic in to see concerts that'll be well over and above your 2,400 that you have at the casino now. So, I understand the hotel. Once people are in there, they're going to stay there and go to the casino. But if you're bringing in events every weekend with an amphitheater, that's going to largely increase the traffic that's going to help come up and down 589 across Ocean Pines.
That's not necessarily a priority for us.
Right.
2, again, because of the casino and if we had a hotel, and the hotel would be by far the higher priority there. So if the hotel was on property, that would thin out some traffic from that. The fact that people would come and leave at varying times because of the fact that they would be visiting the casino in all likelihood would thin out that traffic. And we have a permit process that we would have to go through, just like we did with the Travis Tritt concert. We had just coming to the Travis Tritt concert was 1,800 people last May. And there were no traffic concerns on 589 as a result of that. So we would handle things very similarly to that. And I don't know that we'd build something even as large as the one up in Bayside. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I heard you speaking earlier about the types of racing you're doing, right? And I apologize, I haven't been there. But right now it's harness racing, is that correct?
Correct.
And you mentioned things about the Kentucky Derby. Are you anticipating doing thoroughbred racing at some point in the future, or it'll remain harness?
No, we're going to remain harness
Okay.
racing. No
Thank you.
plans to do that. You're welcome. Any
Any
other?
questions from anyone in,
Yes.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say that I'm not one of her whales. I'm one of the little fish that went, so we got into the virus. My reaction is, number one, they've been a good community partner for 10 years. I volunteered for E&NA. They've been very good at trying to fit in the community. A couple of glitches I've seen over the years. One was this big traffic backup, whoever thought that racing ostriches and whatever else it was.
Yes.
Wait for the big races, by the way. But at any rate, any time that they've had a glitch, I know Bobby has been able to take care of it. One of the things on the revenue end of it, so I support them. I don't think we'll become an Atlantic City, and I don't think that all the fears that we had going into this, that they've been a very good partner. Hopefully the management doesn't change. As far as the money end of this thing, the only money we have coming in for roads right now is the money that we get from the casino. I hope that stream gets bigger, but at the same time, Maryland took away from us the money we had for roads. So that was the one-for-one replacement. Without that money, and I think Maryland took it first, and then we decided that's the only way we could fund this. I'm not sure that the two were ever connected. The other thing that concerns me from a business standpoint right now is that if you look at Dover, Harrington, what's the other one further up?
Delaware Park.
All three of those casinos, and I know they all have a different tax basis right now, what they're getting charged. But even at, what'd you say, they only have to pay like 10% off the top or something to the state or something like that?
Well, Delaware's got a similar tax rate to what we have, but
Okay.
Atlantic City and
But they
Las
had
Vegas.
support those casinos $3 million each, if I recall. So hopefully that was the business that you got. I'm concerned that the ports of the Norfolk thing take some of that away. But I'm hoping, I'm a firm believer you either grow or die.
Mhm.
And I think that, I'm just speaking from the money aspect of it, but that's your business. But I do support the fact that you have been a good community partner in anything we've seen. And I've seen some promotions they've had over their inside with chaos the first time. Second time, no.
Yeah, we do learn.
Yeah, yeah. And it's usually on a free type thing, where they go give you free play and all of a sudden the whole place is put around. The next time they did, that's enough.
is there any other questions?
Thank you very much for your comments.
And I just have one comment. I think one thing that, from an Ocean Pines perspective, one of the things I see as a benefit of this, besides possible increase in revenue from the slots, is that, we're trying to build our banquet business, and there's no large or medium-sized hotel close to us. So for the weddings and things that occur at the yacht club, the people are staying in Ocean City. If there is something at the casino that may help with banquets here in Ocean Pines itself, more business to the restaurant. Maybe if golf packages get developed out of that hotel, if there's one built, there'll be more business for the golf course. So while everybody is concerned about traffic, I think we all realize that no matter what goes on here in the future, traffic's going to be a problem on 589. But my personal opinion is that I see that this could help in our own business here at Ocean Pines. So, any other comments? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate it.
Chip Bertino's here. Bobby's going to be making her presentation Tuesday to the commissioners. So I think it'd be appropriate, while we're not voting on anything, if we could give Chip and Bobby a show of hands of who would be in support of this proposal. There you go. Thank you.
And this is the exact presentation I'm doing on Tuesday. So if you were interested in seeing it, you've seen it. You can save yourself the trip to
Okay. John, the GM report?
Okay, thank you, Larry. So we sent out 2 RFPs, one for waste services, which was mailed out on September 21st. The bids are due November 9th, 2020. Accounting services, also an RFP was mailed out on October 12th, due on November 2nd. There will be the demolition of the old craft building scheduled for Monday, October 19th. The resurfacing of the campus parking lot will follow that probably within a week. We have gone to the Budget and Finance Committee and reviewed and gotten, their guidance on addition to T-docks down at the marina at the yacht club. I believe it's 6 that we're looking at proposed. And we also went to them with a proposal for 4 pickleball courts and a youth tennis court at the Racket Sports Pavilion. So we got positive feedback on that, and we will go forward, and you will get that as part of the budget review. Clubhouse Drive, the bridge, we've heard about this in the past. We did get reports. Eddie Wells is working on it. We have spent approximately $12,000 on permits and some reviews, and we're estimating that the work for the Clubhouse Drive bridge will probably be in the estimated range of $50,000. So we'll probably be coming forward with that in the near future.
On with the bridge?
So it's more below. It's more on the bulkhead side, in that type of nature. And we have a whole a plan on that. So if you want to get in more detail, I'd be welcome to go through it with you. Yep. But that's that. And I have read about that, and I have seen, we've known about it for a few years. Okay? So we have more detail if needed.
The only reason I asked is because I know we did work a few years ago on both that one and on the Ocean Parkway Bridge.
Right,
too,
and that was
because
all
it's falling
above.
apart from underneath.
Yeah, so we knew this was coming. Okay. So I do want to highlight, so turn the page. Okay, so there's that beautiful building. Do want to talk about golf. A lot of it's been in the news. A lot's been going on down there. There is a lot of work going on. And I just wanted to go through that. So the golf medically is basically flat to budget when I present and I show you the September year-to-date flash, and I'll get more into that. We lost an estimated $150,000 of revenue in May and the beginning of June. So 6 key weeks of our revenue process and a lot of play. We lost that like everybody else with the COVID-19. But I want to give you the whole picture on golf, even with that. We did have issues with the greens. We've identified the root cause. We have an action plan. We do have results to date. I will follow this with a couple of slides so that you can see it. I do want to get into this a little more detailed than normal because a lot of it, what you read out there, doesn't actually portray what's going on down there. So just quickly, I just want to tell you what happened with them, but the root cause of the issue on the greens was identified as a black layer, approximately 2 inches below the surface that keeps the green above it extremely wet and does not allow the roots to penetrate. The result of this is greens that struggle with the heat due to inadequate root depth. A plan of action was put into place immediately, which includes the use of Ninja Tines aeration every 2 weeks and the use of verticut reels to remove thatch from the top layer of the greens in the fall and the spring. We have not done that in the past. That's something new. For the type of grass we have, this is what's recommended. This is what other courses do. We're doing it. We're getting the results, and we will continue. That'll be part of the process. An aggressive program of top dressing with sand and seeding was also started, and sod was used to quickly fix the worst areas on the 3 greens. In addition, the use of certain chemicals, fertilizers has been stopped, and a new program has been developed and implemented. So we had a situation, not denying it. I don't believe it was as bad or as in the past. We've certainly addressed this, and we're getting the results. From a personnel standpoint, I know Ocean Pines announced yesterday, we did promote from within a new superintendent effective on 10/11. And we have an assistant superintendent that was hired to fill the old spot, Kurt Joseph, who was an employee in the past and somebody that we were welcome to bring back. We are fully staffed right now on the maintenance side. We have brought in a consultant to work with us, which I believe has been very positive. And Public Works has definitely assisted me and the team down there to get us where we are. Next page. Sure.
I just want, why, we've had this black mold issue around the greens, around the specific greens for years now. And I just don't, I'm kind of wondering why we just now came up with this solution to aerate every 2 weeks and do all this. It just seems to me that we would have looked into this a while ago. I'm not giving anybody a hard time. I just want to know that it's not going to continue to be ongoing, because we've had this before. I mean, I've played this course for a long time. In the last few years, we've always got the same black mold on the edges of the green. And I'm assuming that's what it is, growing between the grass and the drainage.
And Thomas, it's an excellent question, and that's what I'm trying to answer. So Tom's right. So what's happened is with this type of grass, bent grass, it is famous for developing this thatch that I talked about before. That's about 2.5, 3 inches below the surface. What that thatch does, and that thatch has developed over time, over the 7, 8, 9 years that we've had. We do aerate it, but you need a certain type of aeration tool, which we never used, which are these Ninja Tines that we bought. So these Ninja Tines go down, they aerate, right? You usually get the punctured holes, but it brings up the thatch, and you can see it, how it brings it up, and you can see the black thatch. Once we break this layer of thatch, that will stop what Tom is talking about, this black mold that you also see on top, that obviously is something hard to grow grass on. The other situation that we're doing is aerating the top with these special, I call them spurs, but these verticut reels that we did not have in the past. And I was down there when they did it. The amount of thatch that we took out of those greens was tremendous, truckloads of it. So, this is something we didn't do in the past. This is what this type of grass, which is an excellent grass for golf courses, for putting, needs. And, we were treating it, but not exactly this way. So I believe this will definitely, with time, take care of that. What also causes that black stuff that Tom's mentioning on the top is water stays on the top, right? Because it can't penetrate because of that thatch that I'm telling you about. And that's what happened this year, specifically on 15, 7, and one other green, where the water, we had a big storm, right, in July or whatever, that water stayed there, then you got the heat. And that caused that. And where it happened was in the past where we had other situations, that grass wasn't that strong. One, because it didn't have time to develop, and two, it couldn't get the root system because of, again, this black layer of thatch 3 inches down. And the reason we know that's true also is 14 and 8, we put fans on them. In the past, those two greens were the worst greens, and this time we really didn't have much effect there, if any, because those fans, when that water came in that heavy storm, it dried up the water on the top. Now, not the best way, but that's why I truly believe, and we all do, that we have the root cause now. All right? But good questions.
I have a question, John.
Sure.
Is this change in the approach to managing this black mold, is that a benefit that we're deriving from the consultant, the new golf superintendent? It sounds like this is new information, new expertise.
So it is from the consultant. It's a consultant who deals with this type of bent grass at another golf course.
Okay.
We've also researched it, and this is the way to treat this type of grass. Each grass is different. This one is known to create this thatch, and it developed over time. It got thicker every year. And, we have the program, we have the tools now in place to do it.
Thanks.
And the team. Any other questions on that, quick? Okay. Our golf, my opinion, and I believe you'll see, our golf operation has turned the corner. We have a plan that's showing results. What I'm asking everybody is let's stay the course and not continue to shift gears. And I'm not just talking about this maintenance, but the whole thing. And I'll show you the numbers for golf. It seems to me over the 10, 12 years I've been here, we shift gears in the sense of, we outsource it, we bring it back, we outsource it to a different company. Somebody wants to lease it, somebody else has expert opinions on it. And I've never met so many golf experts in my life. But let the team that's there, the management team, and the consultants that we brought in with the support of this board and everybody else, let's just give it a chance for a couple of years. I'm going to show you some results that even with the pandemic of where we're going with golf. Okay, so I have some slides. Turn the page. So, I put this one in there. True transparency. Here's a situation where what Tom's talking about, where you get that black mold, where we're treating it. That sand went away, but that's part of the process, and we took the picture when it was happening. So the 15th hole, which I mentioned, was probably the one that had the most effect this year. I have some slides on it, and I just want to go through it. So that's part of the work that they're doing on it, especially to address that piece that Tom talked about, where the verticuts will scrape through that black mold. They're also using fungicides there, as well as the Ninja Times, which we'll aggressively do over the next couple months. Turn the page. All right, so there's your 15th hole, coming back nicely. All righty, so, every week it'll be better. There is just those few spots, and, we're working on it. But you can see it's coming back really nice. Turn the page. 15th hole is played this week. We had a couple tournaments out there. I sat there. I spoke to all the golfers, whether they were the golfers from Ocean Pines or the outside golfers, and I was getting a lot more positive results across the board than a couple of weeks ago. So I know we're on the right path. And you can see the green there. That's not touched up. All right, next page. All right, so 14 fairway. So not only the greens, what we were also doing down there is we're reclaiming parts of fairways. So if anybody plays the course, the 14 fairway, everything left of that tree had just been left and was never really taken care of over years. And it was basically, you couldn't go through there. We have reclaimed that. We're working on the fairways, specifically 14 and 18, and just making it a beautiful, much more beautiful play. And the feedback I'm getting, again, from all golfers, it's a challenging course, and they like what's happening here. So I wish I had a prior picture before and after on that. Public Works has helped us out for a couple days with that. Turn the page. So there's the work, and there's actually, I think that's Nobi out there, Violante, but you can see what we were doing. So that was all, if you play the trees, Brad, all overgrown. In a couple of weeks, you can have a beautiful fairway there. Turn the page. All right, so a little different in the sense of what's done in the past. I'm trying to put together a dashboard. I know I get questions from the board, and we all want to know, where we are with violations. So we do now. I think, we heard that Linda Martin is back, and there's a team down there. I don't want to miss anybody. Nate, everybody's doing a great job. We have binders with all the information. We're trying to put together summaries so I can give, at least from a dashboard standpoint, so the board and everybody else can see where we're at and how many violations or what's going on and what the team's affecting. So I do want to expand over this over time, but you can see at the beginning of the month, the violations, we had open 91, new violations 26, they closed 13, and we have 104 at some level being worked on. And again, if you go to the binders that are produced by that team, Nate, Josh, Linda, you'll see all the detail and everything. If anybody calls, we can go right to it. The legal cases, as of the beginning of the month, there was 42. No violations, 2 legal. We closed out 7 for a net 35 at the end. Turn the page. All right, so the same thing, the dashboard, especially with the delinquent accounts in this time to give everybody a perspective. So I tried to show over the last couple of months how many were delinquent. And again, this goes back not just for this year, but what we had open. So you see that's also coming down. So at the end of September, we had 601. The beginning of August, there was 790. 1 year or less, 532. And the number, I know I get this question a lot from some board members, how many are with legal is 55. Again, we have all the detail on binders. The rest is just information. Turn the page. All right, so let's get into the financials. The purpose, one of the things with the board that this board wants, and we certainly want to achieve, is to get more current financials on the time of the board meetings. So as of now, I have August, but I do have a flash, which is an estimate for September, which will probably, the finals will be out on Monday. So let me give you the August financials, because I haven't done that yet here, and I'll give you a flash for September, and then hopefully in the next month we all tie in. So when you look at the month only for August, we show you here the net revenues and expenses versus budget. The net number is positive, favorable for the month to budget, 61,000. Turn the page and I'll get into the detail for it. Well, let me do the year to date first. So the same thing on this schedule for the year to date. Shows you the net revenues, the expenses. The expenses are favorable. The revenue is favorable, and we're favorable $992,000. Now, I have spoken to you every month about this, so this shouldn't be a surprise, and I'll give you more detail over the next two slides. Okay, so we're favorable. Obviously, a big piece of that is the PPP program, which was what we received was $1,143,000. The food and beverage, the Mad Ork Company, they received somewhere around $270, $255, $270, and that's a big number, that $992. All right, turn the page, please. All right, so let's go back to the month and let's see what the month of August, where we're at, right? We were positive 61. So the general admin was positive. It was the last month for the PPP. I think it was around $45,000, $43,000 that was posted to general admin, right? So we put all the PPP money in general admin. We let all the amenities and departments be a standalone. So they are what they would have been. Now, food and beverage, since we get those numbers from Mad Ork Company and Ralph, they included their PPP within their numbers, all right? We've talked about that. So let's look at it. Public Works favorability, a lot of it is, it is in labor, it is some favorability in maintenance. We've had that. We are going to be doing more, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we are going to be working on that. More of that will happen. The marinas, very positive. Gas sales are up. It's always good news. Golf ops and maintenance, favorable, 14, around 15,000. Yacht Club, you can see the numbers. Clubhouse Grill, I have to say the last couple of weeks, last week, the Sunday ticket was great. The place was packed. Outside, there was some type of golf tournament going on. And what I loved about that building and the way we designed it, it actually functions for the golfers and the patrons for the grill, or if there's any type of banquet there, they can coexist. You had the patio out there. We have the sales, the leaderboard, the TV. They were out there. It really went well, and it was pretty exciting. Well, the TVs were going. It was the way it was envisioned. Finance favorable. Beach Club, 36,000 down. Aquatics, rec and parks. Obviously, the COVID-19. Turn the page. Year to date. Again, turn the page. So again, at the general admin, right, it talked about that. Your PPP money is in there. The Public Works, you can see the favorability, but we will be using that not only for maintenance, but for cleaning, for other type of work that we're trying to do. We are jump-starting more maintenance. We're also going to look into a beautification project. We've got a couple people working on that, so there will be expenses there over the next couple of months. Basically, the rest, if you kind of just take an overall theme, revenues are down. But across the board, all the departments, all the amenities, the entire team, we have cut costs wherever we can, and as well as the labor. So the labor has also cut down. So it's not like the labor is going up and the revenue is going down to the best we could. Right? You can see the aquatics, obviously, over there, 50%, 70%. That we know about that. The beach parking, we lost that because of COVID-19. Similar to like the aquatics with the rec and parks, how many people they could do. Beach Club, golf operations. The golf operations at the end of August, we were down 25,000. I mentioned the first 6 weeks of the year how we lost because of COVID-19 and we were shut down. We lost over $150,000 of revenue. So even with that loss, and obviously we cut our expenses, at the end of August, we're only down to budget $25,000. At the end of September, we're basically flush, and I'll show you that in a flash. So when I tell you it's turning the corner, when I tell you the finances and everything else, it is, with everything going on. And it just seems to me, and again, I hope this board and everybody else stays the course with this play, with the golf, because it's working. In the past, and I've been here in every seat in this place, and let's cut costs, let's cut this, let's cut that. So we'll cut the budget down at golf. You cut the maintenance budget, then they can't cut the rough because they don't have the money or the tractors for it. And then nobody wants to play because of the rough or other things don't go right. So I think right now we have a good balance and a good plan. The racket sports, I mean, pickleball's coming back. There's a lot of good stuff going on down there. All right, turn the page. So here's the new schedule. Here's this flash schedule. Flash is an estimate, it's a forecast. I mean, it's going to be pretty close. Like I said, Steve and Julia, our controller and accounting manager, will probably close. The books will be closed on the 13th workday on Monday. But I did want a flash, so it gives you an estimate for the month. We can just tack on that last number to what I just showed you. You can see where we're at. So those are your estimated budget. Well, not your estimated. There's your budget and what we believe is going to be the current month. Right? For revenues and expenses, we are in a time of year where obviously we're a big utilizer of cash and we bring in a lot of expenses. So even with that, and with the PPP pretty much done, we're favorable to budget in September, for the month of September, somewhere approximately $100,000. What happened there? Well, Golf Ops had a terrific month. The Turn Grill, as I mentioned, is turning the page. Between those two, we were probably favorable about $30,000. Public Works, Police, Rec and Parks were favorable. Again, a lot of cost cutting, some labor savings. The Beach Club was favorable. They had a good month. We did have an offset in the sense that we did add to our allowance of doubtful accounts for the month for $50,000. So we want to make sure we are reserved with everything going on with the COVID-19. Okay? And I know our CFO will talk more about the assessment dollars. All right, so I just want to summarize. So, we are favorable. We do have the next 6-7 months, the next 6 months, a lot of expense goes out of this place. I can't predict, or we can't predict what's going to happen with COVID-19. There still could be effects on the revenue and everything else. We do have, money. We have drainage expenses, bulkheads when we do the budget. Our benefit costs are going up. So there are a lot of things that are coming down the pipe. And just cannot predict with COVID. It could be an effect on the revenues and other costs the rest of the year. With that, I just want to say one more last thing to the gentleman on my right here, to Steve. You saw pictures in there of the police station, the admin building. You saw that beautiful clubhouse that we will all enjoy, the cart barn there. I spent many hours working with this gentleman. It was very enjoyable. I enjoyed it. I will always remember it. He's a man that, he took on the heavy lifting with us. And it's always great to be working with somebody like that. And I appreciate everything he did to help us over the last year. Okay.
And for those of you who don't know, and I forgot to mention it during my remarks, this is Steve's. Steve has decided to move to St. Mary's County, and so this is his last board meeting. And let me just echo John's comments. Steve did a hell of a job with leading the charge with John and with Frank Brown on the 3 construction projects that they were involved in. Steve was actually involved in all 4, including the craft building, and his expertise was invaluable. And I know on behalf of the board and the community, we're very thankful for your help, Steve, and your time on the board. Doug, Treasurer's report.
So as reported on a monthly basis, we look at our investment rate of return. This month, it's 1.8% as compared to last month of 1.9%. Not a significant drop, but certainly competitive in the market as it is today. The cash position is $13.8 million at the end of August. At the end of last month, it was 13.5, so we're a little bit up on our cash position. And you can obviously see how it breaks down in both CDARS, money markets, and other vehicles. Next slide. So I've been tracking the assessment collection because of the changes we made in the dates for collecting when the due dates were. So this graph will represent collections as of September 30th, the dollars we've collected on our assessments. We're at 8.59 million, which is, I hate to use the word shortfall, but it reflects a shortfall of around $508,000 based on what we had budgeted for assessment collection for all 8,452 homes. John had mentioned delinquent accounts in his slide. The 508K is part of that delinquent account, but it's not all of the delinquent account, because delinquent accounts also include monies that were owed from previous fiscal years. So while we're averaging about where we would normally be in the 94 to 95% collection range, I do want to stress the fact that we are still $508,000 short of what we projected for revenue from assessments. It's particularly noticeable as the revenues across the board in our operational environments has been down due to COVID. So just an FYI, and we'll continue to keep tracking that as monies for the assessments come in. Next slide. This has not changed much from last month. The same balance of, back in the end of April last fiscal year was 5.6 million across all of our reserve accounts. We have had some additional things to the point of 1.8, 0.9 in bulkheads, and the monies across the board on that. Casino funds were added as well. We've had some transfers with regard to finishing up some of the projects and some other things, on the capital side. And so at the end of the day, we are still tracking to finish the fiscal year. The balance as of 8/31 is 7.1 million, which is tracking about where we thought it would after expending all those large capital expenses from the projects that we did this past year. So, next slide. Yeah, this is the one where, again, as we said last year, we're going to keep tracking all of the projects that we have that are where our reserve fund accounts are being used. And as you can see, we'll continue to track this. Again, the number we're targeting for is at the bottom there at the end of the fiscal year, FY 2021, is $5.005 million. So that is exactly where we think we need to be. Hopefully, we won't get any emergency requirements for spending. We've not got any additional things that are in the works right now. And again, we're staying the course from the motion that we made a couple of years ago to ensure that we manage the reserve funding to a level that's commensurate with what the reserve study showed us over the years, and we're well on our way to doing that. Like I said, the only thing that I can think of would be some emergency spending that we couldn't have planned for, but right now we're looking pretty good and we're staying on target with those expenses. I will continue to track both these expenses and the assessment collection, so we're well aware of where we are at any given point in time. I'd also want to end with, I want to personally thank Steve Tuttle as well. I know it's Steve's last meeting. Steve served as vice president for several years, and as was previously mentioned, his efforts in the projects, the construction projects, all of them was terrific. And we owe him a debt of gratitude. Somebody that steps up and serves the community should be recognized for that volunteer effort and the time spent in serving the community. So I just wanted to personally thank Steve for his work too.
Okay, public comments, and for any public comments, please step up to the microphone. And just want to remind you, give your name, property address, and you're limited to 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize the comments. Name is Dick Neiman, 45 Wood Duck Drive. And just one thing, trash collection. You all have gone out for bid, which I always concern myself because it seems like used to be like, we'll do this later and all of a sudden we get a crash project, right at the end of December. I've been pleased with Republic a whole bunch. I don't know about the rest of you, and it'd be nice to see if we could get a pulse of the community. If you get to the point where the bids come in and it's $1 one way and $1 the other way, I hope that you guys would look at the performance that Republic has done, because I don't know about the rest of the community, but what we've had is outstanding in our area. Not only from what they pick up, how they pick up, the people that they're hiring, the trucks aren't spewing oil and gas around. And so if you look at that, I would appreciate that. And then, like I say, if it gets down to the point of pennies, $1, reconsider the fact of the change and what that cost. The other thing is that I've asked for years, and this isn't anything this board had anything to do with, but ever since we've been recycling, I never know what to recycle. My understanding is now it's like maybe paper and clear glass.
Glass.
Oh, okay, so it's not even clear glass. So I'm not even sure what the heck it is now. Maybe it's clear plastic. Well, I don't know. And I would hope that any company we bring in that we can require that come in and discuss their mainstream of their, we throw everything into one stream. Let's see what they're really recovering. Is it a liability? Is it an asset? Personally, from our standpoint, what I keep telling my wife, well, you can't throw that in there. Our recycling effort is almost down to nothing. I know politically we should be recycling. Financially, I'm not sure. Thank you very much.
Sir,
Don, you want to address the?
can you spell your last name for me, please?
Yes, N is in Nancy, IEMAN.
Thank you very
It's like
much.
Neiman Marcus, but theirs is NEI, but they have all the money.
Well, that's true. Okay.
Thank you.
Don, you want to address that?
Sure. So, and I forget, I'm sorry, your first name is?
Dick.
Dick, right? Yeah, I've seen you anytime. So, it is a good question on the recycling, what to and not. I'm going to ask Josh, and I think Josh has done it in the past. We'll put something out again. It has changed in the industry, not just for Republic, not just for Ocean Pines. There have been a lot of changes. So Josh I'm not going to go through them, but Josh will put something out in his team.
And Dick, just so you know, that Republic did come here and make a presentation. It was probably over a year ago, and they talked about the recycle issue and the impact that China is not taking it and the cost. So they have been here, but so if Josh will get another blast out.
Obviously, if we threw everything in the trash, the cost is going to go up to them because of the dumping fee. Whether or not recycling pays for itself or reduces our cost, I have no idea. Let's say with the market. But again, I do not know. I never have known, even when we had the whole stream. Like when you recycle a cereal box, do you take the plastic out and just do the box or nothing at all? Do you supposed to clean out these jars? No, we can't even take the jars out. I just wish that we could get something definitive, because I might not even need a recycle bin at this point.
Any other public comments?
I want to make that. Go ahead.
I'm Roland Roosveen, 12 Lord Guy. Unfortunately, I speak a little bit louder. I forgot to put my hearing aids in. The first thing what I want to do, I want to thank Steve. He was a good guy in the board. And our general manager, I had certain things written up for the general meeting, but was canceled. And Joe is an outstanding general manager. I'll be here 27 years. I have to give the man the credit how he brought our finance back to all the trouble we had with the board members before, with the general members before him. And I don't want to see no more of the time coming back from Bob Thompson and Tom Terry. So, Joe, you're a perfect man. And I hope you don't give this man a hard time.
Hey, Dutch,
You're not going to get better.
Hey, Dutch,
The other thing I want to say, it's like I say when you were speaking, I don't got my hearing aids either, but the road. Our road, we are not the people who rip the road up here in Ocean Pines with going 35 miles an hour. It's like I say, I've been riding every day up and down the parkway, do bike riding. If you go from the south gate to Steen's house, there are 65 holes where they put a coal patch in. It is ridiculous that you people don't look better. How did these people do a better job if they dig a hole in the blacktop? So, and another thing I want to ask you people, Steve is going to leave us. And I've been reading the paper. Who's going to replace Steve? We had this year problems before our May election to get people to run for the board. And I did particular a lot of work for the fellow who was not elected. I had in my mind to get one person out. Unfortunately, I don't have to look. I want to ask you people to put that man on the board. Instead, I saw it in the paper, somebody, well, we got him or him. If they wanted to be on the board, if they want to know, why did they have not run? This man had the guts to come forward and run for the board and put his time in. I like you people to realize that. I don't know if I said something wrong, but he's a good person. And I hope that you all recommend him to replace Steve. I had some trouble some years ago with a particular board member, and I don't like the lady Kobe. She's not here. She does a tremendous good job for Ocean Pine, and that are people we need. And I hope that you're all concerned that fellow to be a member from your board. Thank you. Yeah.
Touch, yeah, Kobe's there.
And Joe's over there.
Yeah. We'll be, actually, we'll be having a special meeting on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock to address the vacancy from Steve. Steve, you wanted to make a comment?
I just wanted to make a few comments, if I could. My name is Steve Tuttle. I live at 40 Burr Hill. I had to follow the right rules, right? I appreciate the opportunity to share a few thoughts with the OP community at this time, as this is my last board meeting as a director. For the past 2 years and prior on the election committee, it has been an honor to serve the community of Ocean Pines. The board for the last 2 years under the leadership of Doug Parks has accomplished a lot. From completion of projects, the new craft building, the clubhouse, the cart barn, the police administration expansion, upgrade of the admin building, and implementation of the North Star program. Your board recruited the current general manager, who has skillfully guided the association for over a year now. The board has exhibited considerable unity but not uniformity, which has resulted in decisions in the best interest of the community of Ocean Pines. As a board liaison on many of the recent building projects and as vice president for 2 years, I've had the privilege of getting to know and work with many of the staff who serve Ocean Pines with dedication, expertise, and a sincere concern for the good of the community. In particular, Colby Phillips, Eddie Wells, Nobi Vellante, Michelle Bennett, Steve Phillips, the Malinowskis, Ruth Ann Myers, Debbie Donahue, Josh Davis, and many others. OP is blessed to have a stellar team that diligently serve this community every day. I also appreciate the opportunity I've had more recently to work with some of the county officials and with the commissioners Bunting and Bertino. To the community, my plea is that you engage in service to the community. Serve on an advisory committee. Seek to understand and question decisions of your board. It's easy to sit on the edges and complain, but far more is accomplished when the community engages. There's a lot of resident expertise in this community, and there is ample opportunity to bring your gifts and talents to the community for the good of all. To my board colleagues, I urge you to strive for the unity that we knew under the leadership of Doug. Take every opportunity to get to know, listen to, and support the staff of OP. As a board, it is very important not to engage in operations, but it is equally important that the staff know they are supported by the board. To observe and suggest utilization of expertise the staff bring to the association. In completing an evaluation of the GM, it is critical that as a director you hear from the GM's direct reports. Finally, I decided in the summer that I would not seek a second term on the board. Up until September, while my wife and I had decided that we would move closer to our children and grandchildren, we expected that we would not move till the summer of 2021. One of the ways I have approached life in my career path, church involvement, and community is to serve in places and ways that are life-giving, that bring me joy and satisfaction. In September, I lost that sense of joy and life-giving aspect of serving on the board. There were some things said and done that were troubling to me. As a result, we adjusted our plans, placed our house on the market, and in 4 days, it was under contract. We will be relocating to the Western Shore of St. Mary's County at the end of November. We are now in the throes of packing and purging. The board now has a task of selecting a person to fill out the balance of the term I was elected to. 2 people who have run for the board, Stuart Lachernick and Paula Gray, have expressed interest in serving for the balance of my term. Both received considerable support from the community when they ran. They certainly are worthy of your consideration as you deliberate next week regarding filling the vacancy on the board. Thank you for the privilege of being a director for Ocean Pines.
Okay, there are no capital purchase requests. Unfinished business, we have a second reading of Resolution FO3. Doug?
The move to have a second reading of Resolution F03. The purpose is per governing documents. A second reading is required in order to enact the proposed changes. The background in discussion with the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee was recommended that the threshold for asset tracking noted in Section 3C replacement expenditures be reduced from $5,000 to $2,000. And this is the second reading.
We have a motion to accept the second reading.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just one question. We changed from 2 to 5 a few years ago. What's the rationale now to go back to 2?
John?
So, we're not a multinational, big balance sheet type of company. The people that made that change, they came from that. It has more of an effect. It does have an effect on operations if it is a higher number, but it all balances out. It's the right thing for our size that should be the number, the 2,000, and that's constant with other places our size.
Yeah. And then also in discussions with Budget and Finance too, we felt that it was important that we have with the new admin building, the new clubhouse, and the other changes that were made in sort of the general infrastructure to track those newer items that are at a smaller level to have a sort of a clearer picture planning going in the reserve study going forward too.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor of adopting the second reading of Resolution FO3? So aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And for new business, we have a first reading of Resolution C1 or C14. Camilla?
Yes, thank you. I move to reinstate Resolution C14, which was dissolved a couple of years ago. This is a resolution which really affects racket sports. For any of you who may be down by the racket sports complex, you'll see that the parking for people that are playing there is all the way out to the road now, which is good and bad. It's very difficult to find a parking space when you go to play tennis, but I'm thrilled to see the number of people that are turning out for the racket sports. So the purpose and effect of this is that racket sports are growing at a rapid pace. The Racket Sports Advisory Committee will ensure this growth is based on solid planning and logic and completed with input of the Racket Facilities Director and his personnel. The background is that racket sports have long been an important and integral part of the amenities at Ocean Pines. In recent times, activity at the tennis court is increasing due to the addition of timeless tennis, paddleball, and platform tennis. Pickleball, of course, as Steve knows, has taken on a life of its own. We've had tournaments down there. The turnout has been absolutely fabulous, and tennis enjoyed a USTA match here, the United States Tennis Association match here. So under Tim Mullen and Terry Undercoffer's leadership this year, this is growing at an exponential rate, and I hope we do everything in the world to keep them, because I have never heard a negative comment about either one of them from anyone. So I believe that we should reinstate the advisory committee, which will bring the people from the pickleball courts, the paddleball courts, and the tennis courts together to do solid and logistical planning for the growth of that area.
And this is a first reading, so we don't.
This is a first
Yeah,
reading.
so we don't need to, is there any discussion, or we can wait till we have the second reading?
I have a question.
Yes.
My understanding is that in the past, this was suspended because of difficulty achieving unity among the racket sports. Is there a plan in place to address that problem this time around?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, this time Dick Keeling is going to present the budget and finance guidance for 2020, 2021.
Good morning.
I didn't see the guidance that was distributed in the board packet. Does everyone have copies of the guidelines already? I'd gladly hand them to you if you don't have them at the moment.
Got it.
I don't have them.
I don't have it.
Thank you, Dick.
Okay, very good. So what I thought I'd do, kind of similar to last year, was maybe we'll just go through these. And if you have any questions, please jump in and ask your questions as we go along. So as part of Resolution FO2, Section 2, B&F is required to submit guidance to the board as far as budget guidelines for the upcoming year, 2021-22 budget season. I'd just like to first comment that the preparation of the budget is a significant work process that not only involves the finance staff, but involves all departments within John's staff. And they do a really good job developing a zero-based budget, very thorough review. And B&F truly appreciates all their hard work, which facilitates a pretty smooth budget process. As part of each year, the budget process, the general manager prepares a schedule which outlines the dates, the responsibilities for different activities. And B&F requested that we would start that process between January 5th and January 8th, and the GM agreed to that. So he's preparing a document which describes all the activities leading up to the budget approval in February. And so the 5th through the 8th, B&F team will be meeting together to review the budget process with the GM and the team. We strongly encourage and welcome any board members who would like to attend those 3 days. It's a very, very good time and a very thorough look at the budget process, and we encourage participation, asking questions, and it just goes well when that happens. So please feel free to join us. I'd also like to recognize various B&F team members who are here today. We have John O'Connor, we have Brian Reynolds, we have Frank Brown, and we have Tom Piatti joining us today from B&F for this particular session. Item 3 that's requested is B&F would like to see an update accounting and position on the PPP funding provided for the budget review process. Contingency plans are identified and presented should PPP funding become a loan payable. The plan is the GM is thinking towards, if it is an issue, to develop a line item in the budget to address any kind of potential payback of PPP money. It's the belief of the GM and the team that we're doing all that we're supposed to be doing, and that the payback will in all likelihood not be necessary. But if it is, and as time suggests that might change, we'd like to see plans on how that will be addressed. In the past, any kind of big loss that we had was sometimes spread out over multiple years. If that becomes an issue, that's always an option. So as far as the budget goes for presentation analysis purposes, we'd like to see the development as process. As we've done in previous years, each department or amenity would show 3 years of historical actuals. In this case, it would be 2018, 19, and 2020. The 2021 budget, the current year actuals, and then the most current year-to-date forecast. So all that information lines up perfectly as far as allowing you to look at variances and differences between previous years, between the forecast and last year's budget. We do recommend one addition be added, and that's a column to the reports that the Finance Department would develop. And that's adding a column striking a variance between the previous budget year and the new budget year. So that'll be helpful in understanding, are we getting on back on track with what we budgeted in the previous year with the new year, given the COVID situation. We all know the forecast is greatly influenced by what's happening in COVID. We do hope that the new budget process, the new budget, will yield more of a clearer picture compared to what we saw in the previous budget year. Any?
Joe? So, we've already done this another time, but budget, I don't see it, especially if I have a forecast, see if I want to do it, I can't hear you, John.
Can't hear you, Joe. Thanks.
So usually that's not a problem, but so I hear what you're saying about the budget and budget. We have spoken about it before, and I've gone through this before. I just don't, now let me preface, if the CFO or whatever wants us to do it, I'll do it, but I just don't see the benefit of it. I have a forecast. I have years of data. Doing budget to budget, I honestly, I don't see the benefit of that. We have so many variances. Now, all it is a cut and paste job for us and just another column or a separate page. But help me out with it. I just don't see it.
Well, if I could just comment on that. To me, one of the things you look at is when you're preparing a new budget, how did I do this year? And basically this year is impacted by COVID significantly. So your forecast information, whether it's expenses or revenues, is going to be, significantly different than what your budget was for the year and maybe what your budget's going to be for the next year. So that variance is kind of not worth a whole heck of a lot. But looking at your new budget and then comparing it to your old budget, it's a quick look to see that, where are we changing or what's different? And there's certainly assumptions built into the new budget,
right?
But you can highlight and see where the different variances are. If it is an easy thing to do, BNF is requesting it.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's difficult,
I'm not saying it's difficult.
We can work manually around
I said
different
it's a
things.
cut and paste job.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I understand what you're saying with the COVID, but I also might be in a COVID situation next time. We do look at the budget. We do look at the prior years. We do, we also don't get tied up on that because then we would be missing what's going on with other changes in there. So it's a mechanical exercise. We'll cut and paste. Maybe we'll do it as a separate schedule if that's what I'm told.
It's a recommendation at this point, and then so we'll
fine.
address it.
Okay, just asking.
Okay. As in the past, any departmental revenue or expense increase or decrease of 5% or $5,000, whichever is less, requires justification. This is set by Resolution FO2, which sets the 5% threshold. Number 5, a membership schedule should be presented with detailed explanations, including analysis of any proposed fee changes. Revenue projections should be reflected for each category of membership, showing increases or decreases. Similar to what we've done in the past. No change there. Item number 6, there should be a full-time equivalent schedule for headcount for various staff members within the Ocean Pine organization. And that would include 3 years for comparison purposes, in addition to any budget year. Any new changes to staff will need to have complete substantiation. Now, BNF understands that if 3 years of historical FTEs is a problem or difficult, we'll leave that in Steve's hands, and if it's 3 years or 2 years or whatever it may be, we'll work with it. But some kind of trend of historical compared to budget forecast in the next year is a good thing there. Item number 7, as previously done here, we had a reconciliation. It was referred to as the Ocean Pines Salary Walk by Department Amenity. And this details a total reconciliation of payroll dollars from last year's budget to the current year forecast, and the 2021-22 budget should be provided. This is very helpful in focusing on the big picture for our largest expense to see the macro impact of salary expense changes. Showing the current year forecast here is consistent with department amenity presentations. It will also highlight the unique aspect of current year operations under COVID-19. Again, as I said, I think the forecast this year is going to be hopefully quite different than the budget for next year. But there could be large variances and differences there. There will be. Item number 8. So I think item number 8 was already previously agreed here that the salary walkthrough gives you a good detail by department of what's happening with the salaries and any kind of increase that might be going on for salaries. So if let's say, for example, if the budget moves 2% for salaries, that's just an example. You'll see in the salary walkthrough reconciliation what's happening by department and how that department is growing in salary dollars. BNF was initially asking that basically we would have those dollars pass through to the first draft of the budget. But after talking with John and with the Steve and so forth, that's a very, very ornery process to go through, and BNF can live with the salary walkthrough as far as a guide for what's happening. And anything we need to do within each department, we can manually work and massage to make it work. So we can live with that. Item number 9. Food and beverage budget should be based on Matnort's current contract and their outlook for the new budget year. BNF would like to see Matnort's outlook on banquets in the 2021-22 period following this very unusual year. Hopefully, we're on the mend as far as next year to see improvements in banquets, post-COVID as we know it today. Number 10, managers for each fee-based amenity should provide comprehensive details on new revenue-generating proposals and to substantiate other budgeted revenues. I think we've done a good job in the past year or so, really conservatively looking at our revenue base and not excessively growing that just because it was a good thing to do. Item number 11, as done last year, BNF would like to see the Ocean Pines Voluntary Fire Department present their budget with the other departments.
Just so you know that on Friday afternoon, Steve and John and I met with the fire department. I mean, I'm sorry, I was thinking about Doug and I and then Joe. We met with the fire department for their preliminary meeting, so we're on track.
Very good, very good. It is good to. It's very good to hear from those guys, since they are a quasi standalone operation. Number 12, police department, general admin, finance should provide detail of expenses and revenue. All contracts must be substantiated. And this is the time of the year when we do the budget. We really take a hard look at those kind of costs more at the budget time than we do throughout the year. So that's a good, thorough, good, healthy review to have happen. Item number 13, capital budget should be presented separate from the operating budget and be structured in a rolling multi-year format that includes budgeted unexpended capital items from prior years. Multi-year plans should be tied in with the reserve study when it is replacement reserves. Unexpended amounts from the prior year's approved budget must be budgeted and accounted for as part of the fiscal year 21-22 capital spend. Any new capital expenditures must be financially justified. Very similar and goes without saying. We've been talking about a reserve study update. The GM has put forth a recommendation that we do that reserve study update in the spring of the new year after the budget process. And, BNF is okay with that. And I think we can work around what we need to do during the budget process there. That reserve study process would be using the consultant. It would be kind of a lesser version than what we did last time with the consultant, kind of a quasi, reserve study, light study. I don't think we would need a consultant on premises, but they do have proprietary software that we need to use to update the reserve and our reserve numbers. So it would need their assistance and help in doing it. And it's a good time to just to revisit the assumptions that we previously made and see if they still hold water. Number 15, business plan should be presented for new capital expenditures requests and should include dollars and rationale. Replacement capital expenditures should include dollars and rationale for expenditures. Variances should have proper explanations and supporting detail. It's important that estimated future maintenance and carrying costs for any new large capital endeavor is also factored into the equation when you look at paybacks and things like that. Those are costs that are added year in, year out, many cases, and they're an important part of the justification process. Item number 16, bulkheads. A detailed current fiscal year spending projections requested based upon the projected spend, fund balance, and a detailed work plan for fiscal year 21-22. BNF will provide guidance. An analysis should be done showing the impact of higher material labor costs for bulkhead replacements on multiple year plans in place. There is a multiple year plan in place for bulkheads. There's a lot of conversation about where we know that the costs are increasing for materials and labor. What's going to happen with those material and labor costs as we go out the next year or two? That's all part of, a review and analysis that needs to take place and is taking place. Item number 17, any prior year losses need to be addressed with a plan to fund. We're still carrying forward. I think maybe it's the last year of our agreed upon way of funding a prior loss. Still have that on the balance sheet. Likewise, recommendations should be made to account for any kind of budget surpluses, which would be a good thing. But that will be determined as we go through the year and see what the finances are looking like. Finally, number 18, these are items that BNF is presenting, but certainly if the board has any items that they feel they'd like to encourage either in the preparation and the review of the budget, please, we're open to hearing those, and we can add those to the ultimate minutes. I think last year we had a section at the end, which was in addition to BNF's recommendations, were board recommendations as well. I'd be happy to add those. Okay, and finally, the GM will prepare a schedule, including dates for board review. We've recently met with the GM, and he's already has that underway, and that probably will be published in the near future. So with that, that's the BNF guidelines for next year's budget.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Dick. Okay,
Very comment.
yes, Dick.
Dick, have a comment. Really, this applies to you. Your presentation applies to Doug's presentation and really applies to Joe's financial review that he gave us. And it's important, I think with that bit of humor, I think it's important for all of us to understand, including the community, what an incredibly difficult year this has been from a management perspective. The assessments are based on performance to budget. This year's budget was developed pre-COVID. We're operating in a COVID environment. We're dealing with reduced capacity by government mandates. We're dealing with reduced demands because people are scared. we're dealing with reduced assessments, which we collectively as a board made a decision on because the community was so negatively impacted by COVID. Yet through this, we have maintained, and John has maintained, and the board, the whole team, outstanding operating results by using tools that have come available to them from the sky, like the PPP program, by managing revenues, by managing expenses. So if I compare this to a couple years ago, we were looking at multi-million-dollar losses in a great economy. Now we're looking at performance to budget that's great in an economy that is absolutely unimaginable for people alive today. So I just want to caution everybody that when this comes together and we put this budget, which is a COVID budget, and hopefully be out of COVID, that it's going to be a difficult proposition because we still have to deal with a $500,000 shortfall in assessments. Who knows what's going to happen between now and the end of the fiscal year? We can't even make a projection. We can't even honestly ask for one. So I think we all have to keep the good management in place, the demands in place for good management, which comes from the board, but also we have to go forward with the understanding that we have, in effect, chartered John, not Joe, to fly through fog in a high-performance jet with no instruments. And there are bumps out there. It's been a damn smooth ride, a lot smoother than really anybody expected. But we're going to have to deal with those bumps in the budget. And I think they're going to be there.
Okay, anybody else? All right, so the last item under new business is I was going to do a brief discussion of the traffic study on Route 589, and that was based on the discussions I had with Bobby Sample. We sat down and met with her probably a month or so ago and talked about the concerns that you guys passed on to me about the casino project. And we did get a commitment from them if they, when they do move forward, instead of this traffic study just dealing with their end of 589, but any traffic study that is done based on the work that they intend to do, they will do the study for all of 589, showing the impact that it'll have on Ocean Pines. So that's really, I just wanted to update everybody to let you know they are trying to cooperate and work with us too. I think we all recognize no matter what happens here, the traffic is going to be increased. And hopefully, the state, Chip mentioned to me earlier, state doesn't have any money for 589 or 90. So if there's any improvements done, it looks like it will have to come from the casinos. Okay, we have two appointments. Marty Clarke, third term for the environmental and natural assets, and Fritz Lahner, first term as golf advisory, and Fritz is, my understanding, will be the chairman of the golf advisory committee. Have a motion to accept the appointments?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And with that, I'll move, say motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.